I'm back. This is Sandra, Krafty Kreations with Sandra, with our second class of the day. Today, October 2nd, World Card Making Day. We're going to stamp a stack. Say hello so I can know you're back. Hopefully you're back. I'm trying to log on so I can see comments. That was not a very long break, huh? I tell you, this is the first time I do this, so I have to figure out my timing for next time. Let me refresh my screen so that I can find us. There we are. I see one person came back, say hello, so I can know you were here. We're going to stamp a stack. We're going to stamp a stack and make 6 cards. We're actually probably going to make 3. And then you can finish the rest on your own. But I'm going to do exactly what I told you. I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to cut 6 pieces that are 4 by 5.5. And I'm going to take my cardstock and I'm going to cut 6 card bases. And then I'm going to show you how to do this awesome little trick. Okay? So let's start with the card bases. I have 2 pieces of thick whisper white and I have 2 pieces of basic black. Whatever color you choose will be based on the designer series paper that you choose. So if your paper has lots of purples and pinks, then you choose accordingly, all right? If you choose this paper, then you choose accordingly. Whatever paper you have. You just need 6 designs. Okay. So, let me show you what to do. For the first 2 card bases, we're going to score our paper at 4 1/4. We're going to score it at 4 1/4, right? Did you choose your paper? Just grab 2 sheets of 2 different colors, because we're going to make 6 cards. I'm going to score at 4 1/4. Remember to use the scoring one, the light one. Okay, now I'm going to cut at 5 1/2. I'm going to cut at 5 1/2. So I scored at 4 1/4 and I'm going to cut at 5 1/2. So now I have a piece that's 5 1/2 and I have a score line at 4 1/4. I'm going to turn it sideways and I'm going to cut at 5 1/2 one more time. So my card base is 5 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. I have 2 card bases right here. Okay? This leftover piece is 3 inches. Look, it's 3 inches. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that are 3 by 4. So 3 by 4, 3 by 4. Totally wrong, totally wrong. These are just leftovers. For the white paper, you're gonna need coordinating cardstock. I'm sorry. I tell you when I get ahead of myself. Okay, your card bases are here. This one, since we don't need 2, I'm gonna cut at 5 1/2. This will be used later. Sorry about that. 5 1/2, I'm just cutting it. I'm gonna turn it and cut it at 5 1/2. I'm doing the same thing, I'm just doing 1. And then I'm scoring it at 4 1/4. So 3 of my card bases are 5 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. There are 3 of my card bases, okay? Set that aside. Now, if your paper is all light that you can stamp on it and you don't need, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just gonna tell you, I chose a dark paper. So the second set of 3 cards is gonna be slightly different. I'm going to once again score it at 4 1/4. Score at 4 1/4. I'm doing exactly the same thing. Score at 4 1/4. Okay? And this time I'm gonna cut it at 5 1/4. Not 5 1/2, 5 1/4. Hold on. Yes, 5 1/4. Then I'm gonna turn it and I'm gonna cut it at 5 1/2. So my dark card base measures 5 1/2 by 5 1/4, and it's scored at 4 1/4. So my little flap is only 1 inch. And on this one, it's a 1 1/4. It's a little bit, the white one is a little bit longer. And I'll explain why in a minute. So I have two black card bases, and I'm gonna make one more. Since I only need one, I'm gonna cut my paper in half, 5 1/2. By 5 1/4. Remember, this one is 5 1/2 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to stamp at 4 1/4. I mean, score at 5 1/4. So my 3 dark card bases are 5 1/2 by 5 1/4. And they're scored at 4 1/4. They're all scored at 4 1/4. And you're gonna understand why we're doing this shorter one in the dark paper. So if all of your paper is dark, then do this 5 1/2 by 5 1/4, all right? So my leftover piece is 3 1/4. I'm gonna cut it at 4 1/4. 4 1/4, I need 3 pieces. 4 1/4, and 4 1/4. These are just the leftover strips. So each of these is gonna go with each of these. There's 1, 1, and 1. Okay? It's 3 1/4, which was the leftover piece, by 4 1/4. Set those aside. Okay, so we have our card bases ready. Now we're gonna take our paper and we're gonna find one of each. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's 5 and 6. There's my 6 different patterns. Now I'm gonna cut a piece from each one that measures 4 by 5 1/2. There's one piece. I'm gonna take another piece. I'm gonna cut 4 by 5 1/2. I'm just gonna end up with 6 pieces, one of each design. Can you see those there? 4 inches, and whichever side you like. This paper has kind of a duller side and then a more festive side. So 4, I'm just making a 4-inch strip by 5 1/2. And we're doing 5 1/2 because we want to cover the whole front of the card. There's number 3. 4 by 5 1/2. You're just gonna cut. You can actually cut 3 papers at the same time. I'm doing one at a time just to give you more time, but you could take 2 pieces of designer paper, line them up, or you could actually take 3 pieces. Cut at 4. You can do both at the same time by 5 1/2. So I have my 6 pieces that measure 4 by 5.5. You're gonna see it's easy once I don't confuse you. Okay. So now let's pair our papers with our card bases. This one has a lot of white, so I'm gonna put it on a white. I'm just gonna set it aside. This one, let's see. This one, I think I like it with white. And this one, because it has a lot of white, I like it with white. This one has black, so I'm gonna use it with the black. This one obviously has black, so I'm gonna use it with the black. And this one has just dark, so I think it matches really well with the black. Okay? So I have my 6 card bases and my 6 pieces of designer series paper. Are you with me? Hi Julia. Did you just come in? Did I miss? Did I, do you want me to explain this one more time? I can't see the comments. I'm having trouble on my phone. Did you choose your designer series paper? Choose any designer series paper. And you're gonna take 1 sheet of each design. Remember, there's 2 of each design in the paper. So you're gonna take 1 of each design and you're gonna cut a 4 by 5. I hope it didn't throw me out. So you're gonna end up with 6 pieces. 1 in each design, all right? Then what I did is I took my paper, my cardstock that matches, and on my paper I chose black and white. But whatever paper you choose, you just choose 2 colors. It can all be 1 too. It doesn't have to be 2. So for the lighter color, I cut, let me cut one for you. Let me cut one in a different color that I can use later. So let me cut this one for you. So what I did is I scored it at 4 1/4, the whole page. I scored it at 4 1/4, and I cut it at 5 1/2. I cut it at 5 1/2. So there I have a long strip with a score line at 4 1/4. Then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. Now I now have 2 card bases that measure 5 1/2 by 5 1/2 with a score line at 4 1/4. I need 3 of these. 3 of these, all right? So I'm going to stop right there, and then when we get to the second pattern, I'll explain the second pattern. Because it's a little confusing, I think, if I tell you all at once. So, this card has a lot of red. I'm going to need a mat. I'm going to take a piece of red, real red. And I'm going to cut a piece 4 1/4. See there, I just realized I wasn't wrong with those other pieces. 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. This is what happens when you prepare 2 weeks ahead of time. Remember those 3-inch strips that we had left over from the white pieces? You're going to cut 3 by 4. Watch. When I cut my mat 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, this is gonna become the insert. When I fold my card, I'm going to add the designer series paper to the front, and this is gonna be my focal point. So the 3-inch piece that you had left over, you're gonna cut 4 inches and 4 inches. So you're gonna end up with a piece for each card. I'm so sorry if I confused you. Okay, I cut my paper. Remember, I cut it at 5 1/2. This is the piece I had left over. I'm gonna turn it and I'm gonna cut it at 4. I'm gonna use this piece as my mat. Then I took a piece that coordinates with my DSP, and that'll depend on what DSP you have, and I cut it 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 so that my 3 by 4 piece will be matted. Got it? I'm gonna do that 3 times for 3 of my, or 6 times, depending on what paper you're using. What paper are you gonna use, Julia? Okay, so I'm gonna take this and set it aside. I'm just gonna put a little block on top of it. Then I'm gonna take my next designer paper. This one is gonna go here. And I need a mat. So I'm gonna take a piece of green paper and I'm gonna make a green mat. This is garden green. So let me grab a piece of garden green. If you don't have garden green, it can be any color that you have that matches your paper. Not the right green. I'm trying to be cheap. I didn't want to use up a whole sheet. But here's my green. I'm gonna cut 3 1/4. I'm just making a mat by 4 1/4. Now this is gonna mat on my white piece, and this is gonna be the focal point on my card. So my card, second card, it's prepped. Here's my third card. This is gonna go here. This is Sahara sand. So I want a piece of Sahara sand. That's 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. It's exactly what we're doing. I'm just using different colors. By 4 1/4. So this is gonna go here and this is gonna go here. Got it? Did I lose you? We're gonna work on those 3 cards. Now the other thing that you want is a little bit of bling. Something that's gonna highlight your card. So I'm gonna use the glimmer paper from the celebration. And I'm gonna use 1/2-inch strips. So I'm gonna cut 1/2-inch strips. And I'm gonna tell you that I already cut them because it dulls my blade. So I just got a new blade. I don't wanna use my new blade. So with my old blade, I already cut them. I cut 6 pieces that are 1/2 inch by 6 inches. So what I recommend is if you have 2 paper trimmers, use one for glitter paper because it does dull your, I think it dulls your blade. So I have 6 pieces. It's real easy. Just put it in, and I put it in upside down. 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. All right? So we're going to we're going to start assembling our cards. Let's start with this one. I'm going to take my bone folder. And remember, my card base is 5.5 by 5.5. And my designer paper is 4 by 5.5. It's going to fit perfectly on the front of my card all the way to the edge. I'm going to add glue to this edge and to this edge to make the card base. You see it? Are you still here? Say hello so I can see who's here. Hi, Gabby. I'm glad you're back. I see 3 people. Who else is with us? So our card base, in case you missed it, Gabby, is 5.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then our designer series paper is 4 by 5.5. I'm going to add glue, and I'm going to use my Seal Plus. I'm going to add glue right to this edge and right to this edge of the designer paper. Right to the very edge. Okay. Then I'm going to line up my designer paper right on the edge, on the right side of the card. Right up to the edge. Then I'm going to fold it over. And if I have any left over here, which I do, I could trim it off. Cutting is never exact, so when you're trying to match, sometimes you have a little bit of leftover. There we go. There's my card. Now this piece, this 1/2-inch piece that I told you we needed, is going to go right here on top of the seam. It's going to give it a lot of life. So I'm just going to put seal all the way down. If you haven't tried the seal, it's awesome. I'm just going to put that all the way down. There's my card. And all of our cards are going to look exactly like this. That's how we're going to stamp a stack. There's going to be no variation in what we do because our focal point will be right here. And how we stamp or what we do will be on this little sheet. Okay, so for the first card, I'm going to take, I told you I was using the deer, and it's going to be, it's the best time of the year. I'm going to stamp that across the bottom. I'm now going to just work on this little piece right here. I'm going to stamp, it's the best time of year with real red ink. You can use any stamp set that you want that coordinates with your DSP. Which paper did you say from last year, Julia? I didn't quite catch what that was. The best time of year, I'm going to stamp that right there. Then I'm going to take a scrap of white. And remember, we have the deer punch that comes in that bundle. So I'm going to stamp. I'm just decorating. So you will decorate with whatever goes with what you're using. I'm going to stamp the red deer, the one that has the words on it. Oh, what fun. Then I'm going to take my Sahara Sand ink. And I'm going to stamp the snowflakes as soon as I find them. Where are they? You You name it, I have stuff everywhere. Let me see if I can find my snowflakes. You know, the other day I lost my happy birthday from one of my sets. I'm so sad about that. We can't find it. Give me a second. Where did my snowflakes go? Well, maybe I won't have snowflakes. Give you a chance to catch up if you're cutting your paper. I'm going to punch out the deer. It fits perfectly. Just take your time. Punch him out. Somewhere in this mess are my snowflakes. One more look, and if I don't find it, then I guess I just skip it. They're going to be stuck to something. Oh well. I'm gonna put a mini glue dot, a mini dimensional, and then a couple of big dimensionals on the back. And at this point, if you have flowers, if you have anything to decorate your focal point here, you're just gonna add that there. And then I'm going to put some ribbon across the bottom here. I think I'm going to do it after I glue it on. It'll show better. I'm going to mat this on the red. I was going to have some snowflakes falling there, but I can't find my snowflake stamp, so it looks like the poor deer's in space. But you get the idea, don't you? Old-fashioned and striped paper. Hi, Ross. I know there was not much of a break, huh? I'm learning. Okay, so I'll review the card base in a minute, so you'll know what we're doing, Ross, when I start the next card. So I'm deciding I'm making knots. I'm not making any more bows. Too much. Too much for me to handle. And then I'm going to put this right here. And I'm going to use dimensionals once again. This time I'm putting one on each corner. And then I'm taking two and I'm going to put them kind of in the center here. That'll keep the middle from sagging. And that'll keep me from having to use 9 dimensionals. I know, I try not to be stingy, but I also try not to waste. So my card will be here. And then I can add some rhinestones. Now, I think I'm going to add regular rhinestones because there's too much red already. And I think the regular rhinestones are gonna help this pop a little more. So let's add some regular rhinestones. One, 2, kind of think right there. There's my first card for Stamp-A-Stack. And then I would stamp something in the middle. You see both sides of the designer paper? So, let me review for the next card. You will have cut 6 pieces of DSP from your pack, 4 by 5.5. So I already have my 6 pieces. This is my second one. You will have cut 5.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. So this leaves a 1 1/4 inch little flap. You're gonna need 3 of those. If your paper is light, I'm doing 3 light and 3 dark. So you decide how you wanna do it. Just do these 3 and then you can decide later for the other 3. 5.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. We're gonna fold and burnish. This piece that's 4 by 5.5 is gonna go right here on the edge, and that's gonna be our card base. Then I'm going to add a piece of the glimmer paper that's 1/2 inch. It's gonna go right there. The piece that I cut off when I cut my card base is 3 inches. So I'm gonna use that leftover piece and I'm gonna cut it at 4. Okay? So I have this piece that goes here, this piece that goes here. My leftovers cut at 4, and then I cut a mat that's 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 so that I can make my focal point using this leftover piece. And that's gonna be my card, which will be exactly like this one, but I'm just using every single color in the pack. So let's make this one. I'm gonna burnish my fold with my bone folder. I'm going to add, and this time I'm gonna add glue because not all of you have seal. I'm gonna add a line of glue right along this edge. And then I'm gonna add a line of glue right along the left side of my designer paper. And I should have checked the back. You have to check the back in case there's direction to it. So that you put, when you flip it, it's not upside down. But this one doesn't matter. So I'm gonna line up my designer paper on the right side of my card, all the way flush to the edge. Then I'm gonna close this flap with the glue on top of this. I'm just gonna close that there. And if you put too much glue, don't worry too much because you're gonna put that strip. You're gonna put this strip. So now I'm going to put glue on my strip of glimmer paper. And if you don't have glimmer paper, it can be gold paper or it can be a contrasting color of cardstock. So I could have used a piece of just red or black or lighter green. So there's my card base. It's exactly the same. It's just a different card. So that's how we're building a stack, by making the same layout over and over and over. I'm gonna stamp on this one. So bring back my foam. I cleaned it, did you see? So in the stamp set, we have a lot of trees. So we're gonna stamp some trees. I'm gonna use garden green because that's the color of green in the paper. As soon as I find my garden green, I didn't put the colors on the sides so I couldn't spot it. I'm going to stamp some of the trees. Let's take these little trees, the ones that have 3, but whatever you have, whatever stamp set you're using. So I'm going to stamp them kind of towards the top, and then I'm going to do a stamp off. Then I'm going to do another one, and then I'm going to do another stamp off. Then I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to do a... Oop! I shouldn't have done that, you see? I shouldn't have used that leftover. Let me see if I can fix it. a little bit. So I have a background. Then I'm going to take my black ink and I'm going to stamp a deer. I'm going to stamp the prancing deer. You can actually cut this one with the punch as well as the one that doesn't have the words on it. The plain one. This one. So I'm going to stamp him with black. And I'm also going to stamp a sentiment. And I think I want the sentiment to say, sending love and peace this season. That's pretty cute. I'm just decorating and I'm going slow so you can catch up. There's my sentiment. So eventually we will have a set of 6 cards that have exactly the same layout. I'm going to use, I wonder if this one will look nice. Let's give this one a try. Maybe not. I'm not liking it. But it's just a different green. No, huh? Doesn't do it. Let's stick to the organdy glimmer paper ribbon. This one. So I'm gonna glue that to my piece. And for this card, when I'm using the white as the focal point, I cut 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 to mat it in a paper that matches my designer paper. So once again, I'm going to just do a knot. Enough with the bows. I'm going to show you, I did bows on my samples. They're really pretty. But then I had to tie them 3 or 4 times each. Trim, trim, trim. I'm going to use dimensionals to put it on the card. You see, it's the same process. I'm just repeating the same process over and over using the stamps that I chose. So whichever stamp you chose, you just keep repeating. You use a sentiment, you use a background, you use you create a focal point. I haven't forgotten about this one, but I'm trying to get the pieces out of the way. So, one more time, I'm going to use 6 dimensionals. And I think I just found 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. So the center won't droop. Are you liking it? Is it too complicated? Tell me. Is it too fast? What is it? This is the first time I'm trying to do so much work. And maybe I should have just said watch, but watching is boring. So I was trying to do something simple. Okay, there's the card, but now we want to do a deer. Remember that song, "Doe, a deer, a female deer"? I have cinnamon cider, my blends. I'm going to take the dark one with the bullet point. I'm going to outline the little legs. And it's a little bit hard because the marker is kind of thicker than the legs. So I'm just going to do my best. I took the dark one. I'm doing the legs. Then I'm going to outline the rest of the deer. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just outlining the rest, his legs, with the dark one. I'm going to do his tail in dark, and then I'm going to outline his rump. And then we're going to blend. I'm going to do his ears with dark, and then his face, just the outline. Now I'm going to switch to the light one, still using the bullet end. I'm going to fill it in. And you're going to see a bit of shadowing because of the dark lines. And you want to go over the dark lines so that it kind of blends and you don't just see a line. So it kind of becomes a shadow. Just go over it and it blends it. There's my deer. I really want to sing that song. Though a deer, a female deer. Ray, something ray, golden sun. I don't remember. I'm sure you didn't log on to hear me sing. Okay, now I'm going to punch this out. And then I'm going to place him right here, prancing. Isn't that cute? Oh, I'm glad they're not, you don't think they're hard, Gabby. They're actually easy because you're repeating the same layout over and over and over. And it'll depend on what paper you chose, how you decorate them. So now I'm just putting some dimensionals on. What is this business of losing my dimensionals every other moment? Here, I found them. Maybe I should have a place for them, huh? Right here. Okay, on my left. In case I lose them, you can tell me. They're on your left. In case, as if I'm not going to lose them again. He's going to be prancing right here. Isn't that cute? So what paper are you going to use, Gabby, when you do them? And Ross? What paper are you going to use? It can be any paper. So this needs bling. Let's find something that matches. Ooh, look at these. These are the 21, 23 in color jewels. Look at those green ones. What do you think? Or the light. Those are the evening evergreen, but I have the soft succulent. Maybe the soft succulent. Let's try them. They can be like snowflakes. What do you think? I normally use 3, but today we're using 5. Isn't that pretty? They're kind of iridescent. So if you came to class, I don't know how many classes ago, you got these too. Oops, that's not gonna be very successful. Hold on. How you doing, Julia? Have you made one? Are you trying it, Gabby? Ross, are you just watching? I know you like to watch and then do it with more time. We actually have a 2-hour slot for this segment, so I'm just gonna show you. I'm going to show you the other pattern. So then you have time to go work on them. Okay, so hold on. We have plenty of time. It's only 11:46. Okay, so this is how I did number 2. And then I'm gonna just put the third one together, but I'm not going to decorate it so that I can give you a whole hour break. Where's my third one? Exactly the same process. Fold and burnish. My card base is 5.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to fold and burnish. My piece of designer paper is 4 by 5.5. I'm going to place glue on this edge and this edge. The edge of the DSP gets a little bit of glue, and the edge of the flap gets a little bit of glue. We line up the card on the right side, top and bottom, close the card, and then I have a little strip of the glimmer paper. Now watch, I have a little, oh look, my paper's sideways. I didn't notice that. You gotta keep track of that. I guess it's okay, but it would have been better had I noticed. So when you're cutting your paper, keep track if it has a direction. I assume there was no direction because this one doesn't have direction. Okay, then I'm gonna put the piece of glimmer, and if you don't have glimmer paper, you can use gold foil, or you can use, so if you post your pictures of these cards, I will give you a couple of sheets of glimmer paper. I'll have a lot. I'll give you 2. But you gotta post your stamp-a-stack. The stack that you stamp. It doesn't have to be today. How about if for this project, if you post them by next Tuesday, by the day we have class. Yeah? You wanna do that? Then remember I had cut a mat 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and my leftover piece that was 3 by 4. That's gonna go there, and I'm gonna show you the card. I stamped another one of the deer. This time I put antlers on it. I stamped wishing you a wonderful year in friendship, dear, and I added a bow. Remember I told you enough with the bows? It looks just as pretty with the knot. So there is my number 3 card. And in this case, look, I did cut it right, because I was not in a hurry, or I guess I wasn't frantic. I worry about you getting bored, I worry about you getting lost, and then I worry about taking too long. So lots of worrying. All right, so that's how I would finish this card. So there are 3 of my light colored cards. Oh, and I want to show you, this is how the card was supposed to look with the snowflakes that I didn't find. So, what a difference, look. All the little rhinestones work. Okay, so those are my first 3 cards. Now remember, the black cardstock we cut a little bit different. So I'm going to show you one of the black cards, and then you can do the others. You can do the others on your own. So we can finish with time for a break, because it's lunchtime. Okay, so I'm going to take my black cards, wherever it is that I put them. What did I do with them? Hold on. They're here somewhere. They're here. Ay, señor mío, todo se me pierde. Hold on. I moved them to a secure place. I moved them to a safe spot. Let me see if this was my safe spot. Oh my goodness, what did I do with them? start over. I can't believe I lost them. They're somewhere here. Hold on. No puedo creer que las perdí. There's the purple one. Hold on. Hold on to what, right? That's what I tell Isaiah all the time. Hold on to what? They have to be here, so let me just give it one more look. Let's see, calmly look. They have to be here. Well, I will calmly just cut another one. Actually, it's good to review. ¿Dónde las puse, pues? That's so silly. They're going to be right in front of my face when I'm not looking for them. Review. On the black paper, which is the dark paper, and it's a slightly different pattern, I'm going to score at 4 1/4 once again. This is how I started. 4 1/4. And this time I'm going to cut at 5 1/4, not 5 1/2. I'm going to cut at 5 1/4. And then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to cut at 5 1/2. Because my paper is darker, I can't use the leftovers for my focal point. The white, remember the white piece? This was my leftovers from the white paper, but I can't use that. But I can certainly use it as the mat. So now this is 3 1/4, and I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4, and that's going to be my mat. Remember, we had cut these mats at 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So now I have 2 black mats that are 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And all I have to do is cut a piece of cardstock. I'm trying not to use my thick. That measures 3 by 4. Because that would have been the paper that I had left over from the other stack. So I'm going to cut. Well, that was not very straight. That's what I get for using a paper that's... Let me just grab a new paper. That didn't work. 3 by 4. I'm going to cut at 3. And so now, instead of remember we used the leftovers for the front. Now we're cutting the front, and we're using the leftovers for the mat. So these are 2. They're slightly different because the little flap is shorter. I'm going to fold and burnish, except the process is the same. The leftover piece is going to become my mat. The white piece that I cut is going to become my focal point. And look, I just found the pieces. They were right next to me. I told you I'd find them. Then I'm going to take my paper. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Glue them. You see how this little flap is a little bit smaller? And then this time I'm just going to butt this up against it. So that's how I'm going to make my card. It's exactly the same process. I just made this flap a little shorter so that I could use the leftover for the mat. I'm going to use my seal on the inside edge. And then I'm going to use my seal on the left edge of the paper, on the designer series paper. I'm going to line it up. And then I'm going to close my card. And there is my base. I'm going to add my little piece of glimmer paper. Put more seal on the back. Oh, come on. Some seal refills are really easy to use and some of them are not. I'm just going to butt this up against the edge of the black, making sure I go all the way to the top. And there's my card base, exactly the same, just this was a little bit shorter. And my focal point will be right here. And then I'm going to stamp whatever I want right here. So this is what I did. I stamped a big deer. I kind of thought daddy, papa, mama, and baby. I cut these two. This one is fussy cut. And this time I used the gingham ribbon and I put from all of us, which I thought was kind of cute. And then of course, for the inside of this card, we're going to need a white piece. Remember I told you cut some extras? We're gonna need a white piece for the inside. But isn't that cute? So there's card number 4. Then card number 5 is exactly the same. We're gonna fold and burnish. And I know you're not going to be able to finish because decorating takes a long time. But I want you to know the process. I'm gonna take my next piece of DSP, which is this one. Do exactly the same thing. Put glue on one side, on one end here. Put glue on this end. Line it up. So that's how we create a stack. A stack of cards. Now you could use one sheet of paper to make all 6 cards because you can get 6 of these pieces from one sheet of paper. You could also use a whole pack. I punched a deer in Sahara sand, and then I punched the antlers because they're part of the punch. I just wrote Merry Christmas, and on this one I did put them right side up. You really have to watch that if your paper has direction. So there's my 5th card, and the 6th card is with this paper. Actually, my 6th sample is with different paper, but you'll see. Exactly the same process. Oh, maybe I could use the dots. Just to be different. Let's use the dots. I'm just putting glue. Lining it up. Make sure my Christmas trees are right side up. Close it. Put my glimmer paper. Turn on my lights, huh? It's really simple, isn't it, Lisette? I like it a lot too. That's why we call it a stamp a stack, because you can stamp a stack real fast. And actually, it's not that fast because you gotta decorate, but it's fast enough that you don't have to be creating a new design each time. So here is my base. I would decorate it however I want. And this time I just used trees, look. And this would look really nice here because when you open it, there would be trees in here. So I just used the different kinds of trees in the stamp set. I put it's the best time of year. I also used the gingham because there's black on it. And then obviously you would need a white panel. So remember I told you, cut a few sheets so you always have the panels available for your cards. Then I could stamp something on the inside. So there is our Stamp-A-Stack. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and let me find the right one. Number 6. 6 cards with 1 pack of paper. It could have been 1 sheet, but I used 1 piece from each design. So 6 different designs. And you could flip them and then you would have 12 different designs. So I hope you liked it. If you create your stack, post it by next week, by Tuesday of next week, and I will give you 2 sheets of the glimmer paper. Okay? I'll gift you 2 sheets of the glimmer paper. So I hope you liked it. If you want to play bingo, you still have time to sign up. It's $15. We're starting at 1. And you need to send me 5 numbers between 1 and 25. Those will be your numbers. It's easy to play. It's fun. We need a few more people to play. So hopefully you want to sign up and be back at 1. 1 sharp. All right? You have about an hour, I think. Maybe 45 minutes. Yeah, it's about an hour. So I'll see you back in an hour. I hope you like this. And you can stamp your own stack. I'm going to post pictures. And then you are going to, if you make your set, you're going to post your picture in the comments. That helps me not to have to keep track of who posted. All right? And next week, I'll announce who gets the 2 free sheets of glimmer paper. They're really awesome, and if you use them in 1/2-inch strips like this, you can make a whole bunch of cards with them. All right, see you at 1. Let me know. It can be any stamp set, Lisette. Any stamp set. It can be any paper. Watch. I see. I'm trying to say goodbye, and I'm going to answer this question real quick. Watch. Watch, watch, watch. I'm going to take this pansy paper. I know I have a sheet that's already cut in here. I'm going to cut. This is how easy this is. I'm going to cut a 4-inch strip. By 5.5. I'm doing exactly what I did for that one. It can be any stamp set you already have. And remember when I was showing you how to cut your paper? I cut this purple one, 5.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I have this extra strip. I'm gonna make a 3 by 4. Oh, yeah, 3. That's the paper that's no good. That's the paper that was crooked. Don't want to use the crooked paper. 3 by 4. I'm just doing it quickly so you can see how easy this is. This was my leftover piece. Oh, it's not going to work, but I have a scrap right here. 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Watch how easy this is. I'm going to take my base, fold it in half. Your break just got shorter, huh? I'm going to glue these. Oh. Line it up. close it. Focal point. There's your card. Maybe that's not the best focal point color, but there's your card, you see? Then I could put pansies, I could put flowers, I could put happy birthday. It can be anything. I can stamp a nice big happy birthday on it. And there I'm making my set of cards. It can be any paper. It doesn't have to be the one I used. Got it? I hope you liked it, and I hope you stamp your stack and post it. I'll see you guys at 1. Let me know if you want to play bingo. It'll be fun. We're going to play 3 games of bingo. So we're going to make a card, play bingo, card, play bingo, card, play bingo. There will be 4 cards and 3 bingo games. You just have to choose your numbers. Between 1 and 25, you choose 5 numbers. Text them to me. See you at 1. Bye-bye. My silly phone is stuck.